Welcome to the Divine Mess, a sanctuary where the dance of the empowered masculine and the divine feminine unfolds in all its glory. Join us as we delve into the heart of these cosmic energies, exploring their attributes and the profound impact they have on our lives. From the raw power of the masculine to the nurturing embrace of the feminine, we uncover the balance that leads to a life of abundance and joy. Our hosts, Kirtideva, Peraman, and Tina Ryan, are your guides on this spiritual journey who blend science with soul to offer practical wisdom for harnessing your divine energy. We celebrate the beauty and imperfection, embracing the chaos of life's journey as a catalyst for growth. The Divine Mess isn't just a podcast, it's a movement towards wholeness and self-expression. So come laugh with us, cry with us, and grow with us. Every episode is an invitation to explore the depths of your being and to live out loud, authentically, and unapologetically. Subscribe and join our community of seekers as we support each other in this extraordinary, messy adventure we call life.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're listening. Welcome to this new episode of The Divine Mess. As this year has been amazing, we have a flow of guests. We have another guest yet attending today, and she's an amazing self-love expert. But before we get to that, if it's your first time listening, I'm Kirtideva, one of the hosts of The Divine Mess. I'm a cosmic alchemist and the founder of the Golden Temple, where we help you to transmute fear into love. And like every single week, I'm joined by my co-host, 8 hours of flight, not too far away. She's up for a bungee jump this year in New Zealand in 2024. I'm claiming it. That's what she says. And she's going to do that this year in 2024. And she's also a self-love coach, where she helps women who are going through separation or divorce to go into the second season of their life. I would call that the best season of their life, along with some Merchant spices that she has been learning from the Merchant community. She is also a busy mom of 4 boys, and she has a lovely partner who is an official Ironman. And today, as guests, we have Karishma, who currently lives in Australia. She's a self-love coach, and she has a very powerful story that she shared before with us about fighting low self-esteem and also overcoming self-worth so that she can embrace fully the self-love and confidence as well. So welcome, Karishma. We are so blessed to have you.
Hello, Kirti. Hello, Kirtideva. Hello, Tina. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good morning.
Good morning. So can you tell us a bit about your story, about your journey from, like you said, like low self-esteem, moving from low self-esteem to this self-love expert now? Can you share a bit about your story?
Yes, sure. So I was born and brought up in India, and most of my childhood years and early adult years, I struggled with self-doubt and low self-esteem. I kind of always look for validation from other people in childhood, and it came because part of it came because of I grew up in a family with a lot of domestic violence and abuse. I saw my father abusing my mother, which was a traumatic thing to see, and it really affected my self-esteem and made me wonder, made me wonder about my own self-worth, and it affected my relationship with men, obviously, because the first male role model of my life was I witnessed him as an angry man, which obviously affected my relationship with men. It made me feel that I am not safe with men, and I obviously felt insecure and not safe and protected with men. And I really wanted a relationship with in my life. I really wanted an intimate relationship in my life, but consciously I was looking for a partner. I was working on attracting a partner, while subconsciously I believed that love means abuse, because what I saw in my childhood. Plus, subconsciously, I was obviously too afraid to allow a man to come close to me because of what I saw with my father, because of what I witnessed, how my father treated my mother, and I was afraid that my man will treat me the same way. So I was too scared of allowing a man to come close to me. Plus, I had, when I was around 10 years of age, a plumber came in the house to fix some plumbing issues, and he tried to misbehave with me when he saw me sitting alone in a room, which again formed another relationship pattern, another belief about men in my mind of how men would try to take advantage of me. After that man was gone, my sister told me that you need to stay away from men. You need to protect yourself because that's all what they do. They only want one. They will only want one thing for you. So you need to protect yourself from them. So it was a lot of misbeliefs and messages that I got about men and relationships growing up. And as an adult, I was, on the one hand, I was trying to attract a partner. I was consciously looking for finding the right one, while unconsciously I was telling myself, stay away from all of them. You need to keep yourself safe. They all want the same thing. They will abuse you like your dad abused your mother, etc. So it was a lot of conflict of subconscious and conscious mind, and obviously the subconscious was winning all the time. So I had to overcome all of those limiting beliefs and doubts I had about myself once I started working with a coach, once I had a coach, and become aware of how my subconscious mind is holding me back. I had to overcome those limiting beliefs about myself, about men, and about relationships, and uh, embrace self-worth, realize that I am worthy regardless of whether I have a partner in my life or not. Before I hired a coach, I was wondering whether I am even worthy of having a partner because I haven't attracted him yet. So maybe something is wrong with me. Otherwise, I would have found him by now. So it was that realization that I am worthy regardless of whether I have a man in my life or not, and my relationship doesn't define my self-worth. So yes, it was quite a journey of going from low self-esteem to embracing self-love.
Thank you so much for being super vulnerable and sharing your story with us, because I know they're not easy stories to tell, and particularly when you're talking to relative strangers, as we are, even though we have gotten to know each other in the last couple of weeks, it's still very brave of you. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And did you find moving to Australia gave you space to look at the relationship that you had with your father and the relationship with men, whilst you're not in the pot with everybody else, when you have some space to have a look at yourself and what you know to be true or what you believe to be true? Did you find that made it easier to start to step into the work that you're doing now?
Yes, it has definitely helped in the moving to Australia. Definitely helped in and giving me space on working on myself, my own beliefs, and working on my relationship with my dad, forgiving him for what he did or didn't do, and having that understanding and compassion of why he was the way he was, and he probably didn't got what he needed, and he was himself hurt in his childhood, and since he didn't know how to deal with the pain, he just projected it onto someone else. And again, that is not justifying what he did or justifying someone else who has abused someone. It's not a justification or condoning that what they did was right, but it does give you that compassion of and understanding that where they came from and why they are the way they are. And hopefully, if they would have got a different upbringing, they would have been different. but or if they would have had the tools like this, listen to this podcast, or if they had the tools to deal with their trauma and pain that they went through, they probably wouldn't have projected that pain onto someone else, but obviously they didn't have the tools.
You said like, I find that your journey of acceptance and forgiveness of your father is really powerful in terms of, because I know from the Indian culture and growing up in Mauritius, I heard a lot of stories of how women are treated in India as well, like being shut down, and like those stories about rape or being abused different ways, being shut down in different ways. So I really, like honor your courage to like to go to another country where you practically, it's not the same culture, it's a different culture, and yet you are willing to do that work of forgiveness and acceptance. And you said, yes, you had a coach in that to help you in the process. And it's funny, you were mentioning about the tools. If your dad had those tools that could help him to move, like to work through his trauma. So can you share a bit more about what are the tools that you use in your journey of healing?
So by tools, I mean some of the tools that I have used is working with a coach, obviously working with a coach and clearing my own limiting beliefs and having the understanding of how my father, he was his mother died when he was around 5 years of age, and then his father died when he was around in his 20s, and he also lost another brother when he was around in his 20s. And even though I knew some of it while even before I had started working with a coach, I knew some of it, but I didn't delve into it deeper to think that so much of that trauma that he may have gone through in his early years made him the way he is now, that angry man. But after I started working with a coach and going deeper into it, I had that realization that the trauma that he has experienced, the fact of losing his mother at such a young age, that was probably the part of why he is the way he is today. And he probably didn't had that I know he grew up in a boarding school. He was sent in a boarding school in the early years of his life, and he didn't had much love in his childhood years from family, because mainly because since his mother died at a young age, and then he was sent to boarding, so he didn't spend much time in a loving environment in the home. So that was part of the reason that he became the way he is. And when I started working with a coach, I had that understanding of where he may have come from when he abused my mother, and how he himself may have been hurt and he just didn't know how to deal with the pain. And some of the other tools that I have used is obviously listening to podcasts like this, uh, listening to people who have done who have been through similar kind of experience like me, listen to women who have experienced similar kind of stuff like me, and how they have deal with their pain, and taking their examples and learning from their experience that if they manage to do it, then I can do it too.
Yeah, it's really it's interesting when you start this journey and you start to unpack things, the people that come into your life, and it's like they're dropping breadcrumbs of all the things that you need to keep moving forward. And I just find it such a joy. I don't know about you, but just to know who's coming today. Who's going to drop into my lap today? And I don't know about you, obviously with working with women, but you become a magnet for those women who are or have been in a similar situation. Where I work in the store that I work in, I've had women come in and they just strike up a conversation, and the next thing I know, they're moving through a divorce. They're separating from their partners. They've got teenage kids. Their boundaries are shot. You know, there's all of these things that you go, oh yeah, okay, yep, understand that, been there, done that. How about you just try this, just one thing? And they're like, oh, excellent, thank you. So do you find that you attract women who have walked a similar path quite easily? Like they sort of seem to pop up out of the woodwork?
Yes, I definitely attract women who have been through similar path, and yeah, those are kind of mostly those are the kind of women that I would like to work with, and I prefer to work with. Like I know the women that I would prefer to work with are they are someone who I was around 5 years ago, 5-10 years ago, when I was struggling with my own self-doubt and low self-esteem.
And how do you find the progression of watching your clients move through the, as I call them, the light bulb moments where they go, ah, right, wished I had have known that. And they travel along really well for a while, and then it's that cyclic thing where you get a deeper level of understanding as to, oh, that's why I do that. Oh, I'm not quite finished working on that yet, or I haven't released what I need to let go of in order to move through the next portion of my life. You know, how does that impact you seeing the growth and improvement in your clients?
It's definitely a great experience to see them grow and evolve and let go of their own beliefs that are holding them back so they can follow their own passion and purpose in life. It's definitely a great experience. And yeah, as you said, it's happened that cyclical experience of when you think that you have dealt with that emotion or that trauma that you were experiencing, you think that you have dealt with it, and then next day you are kind of experiencing the same thing, and you are wondering, I thought I already dealt with it. Why is it coming up again? Which has happened to me as well a couple of times. And like yeah, exactly, forgiveness is a it's like a journey. It's not something that you can do one and done and then over. It's a repetitive journey which you go through in life, and which has definitely happened in my experience with my dad. Uh, when I started working with a coach, I thought that when I started working on forgiving him, I thought that I have already released the pain I'm holding on to, and I have let go of that anger. And then next minute, I was kind of crying again and feeling upset that why my dad abused my mom, why did this happen, why was he so angry, why didn't I got the love of my dad that I needed. And then it was again that reminding myself that he could only do what he knew, and if he has known better, he would have done better. And
Mhm. And
forgive that
so, sorry, how has your work impacted your mother and your sisters? You know, have they been resistant to the change that they see in you, or have they gone, can you show me what you're doing? Or, you know, I'd like to have a look at this myself, or have they completely sort of shut themselves off to the journey that you're on?
I lost my mother a couple years ago. It was way before I got into this journey. So I am not sure how she feels about it, but I hope she is proud of me that I have done that. I hope she is watching me from heaven and feeling proud of me for what I have done and how I have been through overcoming my own traumas, etc. My sisters they were initially resistant of it, I believe, but they have come to terms with it. They haven't they haven't gone through the same journey with me. I wish they had, but they haven't decided that this is their path. However, they have accepted that this is my path and this is what I want to do. So they are kind of okay with that.
I'm pretty sure your mom is watching over you as your guardian angel, like maybe she's the one who guided you through that process and tell you it's time. You're the healer of the family, like you're the, like how we talk about the black sheep of the family, the one who decide to break the cycle. So that's why I'm telling you, like, we here on the Divine Mess, we truly honor what you've done because we both know, Tina and I'm pretty sure I can say that in her name as well, that how it is to work on yourself when you're the black sheep of the family in terms of, breaking the cycle, deciding to change the pattern. So we are really honored, and I'm sure like your mom maybe will speak through one of us at one point in time and say how much she is proud of you, and keep doing what you're doing in, like empowering women. But I was just curious now, like when you say like you become the self-love coach, what have you learned about self-love? Like, do you have a definition now about it? I know it's the masculine side asking that. Tina is looking at me like, oh no, there we go, the definition.
So now that I have gone through my own experience and becoming a self-love coach after working with a coach myself to release my own limiting beliefs, I understand that self-love is about setting boundaries, putting myself first, and definitely being clear on like having my own self-concept instead of judging myself for who I am, accepting myself the way I am, and it's it's a definitely life is it's a growth journey. It's a lifelong experience. You grow and evolve, and as long as like it's good that people want to grow and learn. It's great. However, it's also we also need to accept where we are now instead of judging the place where we are now. We need to accept that this is where we are now, and we can always grow and learn and become a better person if we want. And it's definitely like I always share with my client because self love is often confused that it is going for a spa or getting massage, getting your nails done, etc. And when I talk to my clients that what did they do to give themselves some self love today, and they will say, "I got my nails done," and I will, that's great, but what about self love? I got my nails done, and self love is not really getting your nails done. What did you do to take care of yourself emotionally? What did you do to work on your mindset? And like if you are it's great if you want to get your nails done, if you want to go for a spa massage, and like it's great that external self-care is good, but if in your head, or if when you are looking at yourself in the mirror, if you are calling yourself names that I look ugly or I look fat, or if I don't get that nails done, my nails look ugly. If you are calling yourself names, if you are judging yourself for the way you are without all that makeup and massage, etc., that is not really self love. So, yeah, it's great if you want to do those things. I'm not stopping you for doing it. But self love is not judging yourself for the way you are. Self love is accepting yourself how you are, just the way you are.
Very tough coach.
She's a tough coach, isn't she? You know, it is about acceptance, isn't it? And
Exactly.
for where you are today, and forgiving yourself for the things that you didn't know yesterday, and being curious about what you're going to learn for tomorrow. So I had the same conversation with my 12-year-old last week when he started comparing himself to his brother. But he hasn't done this and he's got this. And I'm like, mate, The only person that you need to compare yourself to is yourself. Are you better than what you were yesterday? What have you done today to be of service to yourself, to a service to others? And also, you know, are you keeping up? Are you doing your study like you should? Are you moving your body like you should? Are you eating well? You know, all of these things. There's no point comparing yourself to someone else, because comparison is the thief of joy, you know, and it's always going to make you feel less than if you're comparing yourself to someone else. You need to be in a space where you go, well, yesterday I wasn't particularly kind. So today I'm going to try and be kinder, even though he drives me insane and he frustrates me. I'm endeavoring to see the divine. You know, not that my 12-year-old gets that bit, but, you know, trying to explain to them that you're seeing the best of what that person is. And that's what we need to do for ourselves. So I'm sure that's how you are teaching your clients, is that you have to see the divine in yourself and being pleased. You know, sometimes, I don't know about you in your journey, but I would stand and go, I never thought I'd be here. Like, I was in that space back there where I was miserable and I was in a bad marriage, and, you know, I never ever thought that I would have a home of my own and be in an environment where I felt safe and secure and comfortable and find the love of my life. I never thought any of that was possible, but it's only been possible by doing the work and being in the mud and looking at everything, and then having to look at it again, and then having to look at it again, and then it being turned upside down and back to front in someone else's perspective of looking at it again. It's a cyclical thing. All you get is a deeper level of understanding of where you were. And I'm sure you look at your life and go, oh, I never thought I'd live in another country. I never thought I'd be in a space where I like the person I see in the mirror and I'm kind to her, and I'm not constantly comparing whether my eyelashes are long enough, whether my nails are painted, whether, you know, I'm the way I look physically, you know, all of those things that you look at it and you go, my gosh, you're beautiful. And I'm really happy to be you. You know, that for me would be the definition of what you're teaching people, is for people to stand there naked, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and look and like what they see. And it is hard. I'm sure David goes through exactly the same experience as you do, Karishma, of looking and going, I'm going to like who I am today, and I'm going to endeavour to be better today and tomorrow. And I don't know what I don't know, so I'm going to forgive myself for that.
I can agree with that. And yes, comparison is definitely a thief of joy. And unfortunately, we are, when we compare, we always compare ourselves to people who think are doing better than us, or more, they have the things that we may want. We tend to compare ourselves to those people. However, it is always like, if, for example, if we take it financially, there will be always someone who is doing better than us financially, and there will be always someone who is doing worse than us financially. So it's kind of like, we are not someone who is, we are just like everyone else. We are also on a growth journey. We are on our own experience. And instead of comparing ourselves to people who are doing better than us in life, for example, if they are doing better than us financially, instead of comparing ourselves to them, we can use that as an inspiration, that if they have accomplished that, then we can accomplish it too. So instead of getting downward, going in that downward spiral of why I don't have what they have and what's wrong with me, etc. We can use that as an inspiration that how much they have accomplished in life, and it just means that it's possible for me too. And yes, I will definitely agree with that. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, that if you would have told me 10 years ago that I will become a coach and helping people overcoming self-esteem, helping women with their self-doubt, etc., I would have thought that maybe you have lost your mind. I grew up in a family where this was ingrained in my mind that work a safe, secure job, stay in a safe, secure job and have that employee mindset. Don't take risks. It's too risky. Don't try something new. My father always worked 9 to 5. Both my sisters are working a 9 to 5. My mother was a housewife, and like they all are kind of happy with that being an employee, and I'm happy for them. However, it wasn't working out for me being that employee, and like Kirtideva said, I am kind of the black sheep of the family to step out of that thing, and again that didn't resonate with my dad, that I decided to say that no, working a job is not for me. I want to try something different. And when I lost my job and I said that I want to start my own business, it didn't sit well with him. It didn't resonated with him, and he said that okay, so you are a failure, and compared me with someone who was doing better than me, one of my cousins who was doing better than me in the corporate world. And again, that was uh, hearing my dad calling me a failure. It wasn't a nice thing. It wasn't something I expected from him. I wanted to hear from him. But yeah, after holding, this was before I became a coach. Obviously, this was a long time ago. I would say around 15 years or something. And it was it was before I became a coach. I didn't had that understanding of what forgiveness means at that time. I didn't had that understanding, so I was obviously angry and resentful of him and holding on to anger that why did he call me a failure? Why did he compare me to someone else? And since I didn't had the tools as well to release that anger in a safe way, I was instead suppressing that anger in my body, suppressing that resentment instead of working on releasing it safely. And it obviously, as we all know, that suppression doesn't go well. Like emotions are energy in motion, they need to be released in some way or the other, and hopefully they are released in a safe way, which is best. But since I was suppressing that anger continuously, it eventually manifested as physical diseases in my body, and I found myself in the hospital to get operated. And that was kind of the light bulb moment, that realization, because when I was getting operated at that time, I had already hired a coach and started working with a coach. So I had some understanding of what forgiveness is and how holding on to those anger and resentment and being mad at my dad is affecting me. And plus, that operation was again that light bulb moment that my dad only called me a failure once, but how I am hurting myself by reminding myself over and over that same experience in my head and telling myself that I have to prove him wrong. Instead of focusing in proving myself right, I was more interested in proving him wrong, which was obviously affecting my own emotional mental health. And that was really the realization and understanding that what I'm doing to myself, regardless of what he said to me, I am hurting myself more than how he may have hurt me. So it was definitely an experience of forgiving him along with forgiving myself for holding on to that anger and resentment and being mad at him.
I feel that Tina can agree with everything that you said, but I do agree as well, because there are so many things that you shared just now, especially about holding on to emotion like, for example, anger or resentment or frustration, and yet it's directed towards someone, but we are the one carrying that baggage. We are the one like holding on to it. Maybe that person has already moved on, but we are still holding on. And like for you, in what you shared, it's like for everything that you done up till this point of your, like when you hired that coach and you had that awareness, was to prove your dad that I'm not a failure, that actually I'm more than a failure. And for you to reach that perspective, it takes a lot of courage to admit that. And really, I'm so impressed by how vulnerable and open you are about your story. And I feel like a lot of people, a lot of not just women, can resonate with what you're going through. Because even as men, like you just reminded me, I need to schedule a nail salon, with my nail salon now. Yeah, just kidding. Or not. But it's I love how you're firm with your clients as well about it's not only about the self-care, but how you put it back to that emotional self-care, like how you brought it back to them. And it it shows how the depth of work you have done on you, like how much you have work on you and how you bring back your clients to that. I know I said that you're a tough coach and it's like tough love, and that's what sometimes needed. And it's beautiful what you do and how you work. You're working with women, but I'm just curious, like in terms of your coaching now, and you call yourself a self-love coach, and you were talking about your cousin. It's funny, like I can resonate with that part of the story as well. So now I know, like Tina was asking you about how your mom or your sister, and now those person that your dad compared you to, are they like in contact to you, or do they know like what work are you doing, and are they like still, do they come back to you and ask for a coaching session then?
Uh, no one in my family has actually come back and asked for my coaching sessions or advice. But yeah, there is obviously there is that feeling when a family member comes for advice, you kind of want to give them for free, help them for free, and because you have that bond with them that they are already a family member, I probably shouldn't charge them.
Mhm.
But again, if you are not charging the person for your services, they probably won't value it. They probably won't see it as something which is valuable, and kind of take it as a free advice. And like it's kind of a, in a way it was good that my family didn't reach out to me for advice and help in regards to self love, because they probably wouldn't have valued it as well as my clients do, who has paid me or who are actually interested in working with me.
Yeah. And regarding your clients, I love like now you are affirming that it's like, because money is like an exchange of energy, and with you giving that advice and sharing that, that's a sharing of energy, and you're like setting that firm boundary. And again, it's reaffirming that self-love that you're doing. But in terms of your coaching, are you working like just with women in Australia, or is it like do you have worldwide clients now?
I do work worldwide with clients, though my primary focus is to working with Indian women, regardless of where they are. Indian women in Australia mostly, but yeah, those are my primary focus on working with women from India, because mainly because I know that since I am Indian, they are more likely to resonate with me than any other women from any other culture or country. They are more likely to resonate with me. Plus, it's like even though it's the oppression of women is kind of very common in the whole world. It's kind of very common in the whole world. It happens a lot in India, and like my experience will be similar to Indian women who may have been through the same experience. So yes, my primary focus is to work with Indian women, and obviously there is that part of accent too. I have been told that I have an accent, so Indian people will be more easily to understand my accent than someone who is not an Indian.
That sums up sometimes when I first started meeting with Deva. His very beautiful French accent sometimes was, and his translation to English, I could see his brain working really, really hard. And now that I'm learning French, I understand why his brain is working really, really hard in terms of having to convert things and go, that's not how I know them to be written. So it's learning something, but for me, it feels back to front. So I can understand that, you know, we have to be patient with other people who speak with an accent or come from somewhere else. But I do feel that your story isn't one that solely resonates with women from India. There are a lot of women in the Western world who have been within a family that, you know, deals with domestic violence. So whether that's physical or emotional violence, and women, you know, at a young age who have been taken advantage of by whether it's a stranger or a family member, and then having to deal with that process and what they take it to mean about themselves. You know, it's not very often when you're in that space of the person who has been hurt that you ever look back at the other person and go, they're at fault. We tend to be in a position where we place ourselves in the space of blame and go, well, it was my fault. I was in the room. I was this, I was that, I was everything else. When in actual fact, we need to solely, you know, and particularly when it's children who are involved, that they do not have the capacity to articulate like an adult does, nor do they have the capacity to reason like an adult does or justify like an adult does. You know, they look at it from a very unique and simple perspective, and we look at it like we've done something wrong. And it takes a lot of work, and I know how much work you would have done in order to understand why it happened. You know, because if we look at the adage of things don't happen to me, they happen for me, you know, and it's hard to apply to spaces like domestic violence or sexual assault or anything like that. But then when I look at it for myself now, I know that it has had to be part of my story in order to help other people understand and recognize that it happened for a reason, and not to completely mess with your head or to turn you inside out. We look back at the breadcrumbs of our life and we look at all the moments in time and all the things that have happened along our life's journey, and they make no sense in the moment. But when you step up and you look at it from that 360 space, you begin to understand the threads that are being woven to tell the story of your life and how they help you impact and influence other people. So, you know, I so applaud you for stepping into that space and to be of assistance to other women in sharing your story and being vulnerable, because it's not easy. But it also teaches women that they're not on their own. They don't have to do it on their own. And I've been listening to Brené Brown recently, and she's talking about those that are givers are often the people that struggle with asking for help. because they can see a need in others, but they do not want to be the person in need. They don't want to be the person that's putting their hand up and saying, I have no idea how to handle this. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to put myself. So that's why people like yourself and Dava and myself are important, because we act as that lighthouse on the top of the cliff for people to go, oh, okay, there's a little bit of light. There's some glimmer of hope that I can do this better. And it's okay to put my hand up so I don't drown in all of this muck that feels like it's weighting me to the bottom of the swimming pool. That you've got some sort of avenue of healing is possible. It takes time. It's not, like you say, a one and done. It's not a McDonald's drive-through. It's not, hallelujah, I'm healed. It doesn't work that way. It's layers. It's like one of those beautiful rainbow cakes, and you take the top layer off, and then you come around in the circle and you take the next layer off, and you just keep working at it until you get to a point where you completely understand the reasons why things happened in the way they did, in the timing that they did, and with the people that they did. So congratulations to you, Karishma, for fighting against religious and cultural stereotypes, and for standing up, and for being completely brave in going, I know how to help these people, because you could have very well stuck to your 9 to 5, put your head down, been an accountant or a lawyer or whatever it was that, ticked the boxes for your dad and for your sisters to make them feel comfortable. But you had that itch to be somebody bigger and better, and you've done it, and you're making it okay for other people to do the same. You're writing this massive permission slip for other women to say, actually, I really don't want to do that, or actually, I really don't want to be with that person, or I'd like to try something new. And you're waving that big flag to say, hey, come join the party, it's lots of fun.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that good, kind messages of yours. I appreciate that kind comment. And I can definitely agree with what you said, that things don't happen to us, they happen for us. And it kind of reminds me of that experience with my coach when I first hired a coach in the beginning. And she said to me that uh, when we started talking about how my dad abused my mom and my difficult relationship with my dad, she said to me that, do you know we choose our parents? And I am not sure how much you agree with that, but she said to me, do you know we choose our parents? Do you believe in that? And I was kind of defensive with, like, she was the first person who said that to me. So far in my life, she was the first person who said that to me. And I was kind of defensive at that time because I said that, so you mean that I was so stupid to pick a dad who was abusive? So she said that I didn't mean it that way, but what I meant was there was something you needed to learn by going through that abuse and trauma that you experienced. There was something you needed to learn, and now that you are learning that experience, hopefully there will be something positive come out of it. And now when I have healed from that past, from that abuse, now that I've done my work, and now that I look back, I can definitely understand that if I haven't been through that abusive experience, if I haven't experienced that trauma, I probably wouldn't understand what it means, what self-love means, and I probably wouldn't be helping other women. If, for example, if I was grown up in a, if I was born in a family where it was all love and all of friendly and love experience and no abuse, I probably wouldn't understood the importance of self-love, even though I may be self-loving because I grew up in a family like that. I may be self-loving, but I wouldn't understood the importance of self-love as much as I understand it now, and I definitely wouldn't have become a self-love coach, I guess. So yeah, it's the journey I have been through. It's definitely the understanding of why it happened and how it happened, and it probably how we tend to judge it that this shouldn't have happened. Why is this happening? This shouldn't have happened, and why did I experience abuse? This shouldn't have happened. How we tend to judge. So it's really like it should have happened because it's happening. So how about instead of resisting the experience, we can accept the experience and see what we can learn from it and move forward. If it shouldn't have happened, it should. If it shouldn't be happening, it wouldn't have happened. So because if it is happening, there is something to learn, and it probably should have happened. So maybe there is something we can learn from it and move forward, and hopefully share with the rest of the world.
Definitely agree with that, because in every experience that we go through, there's a lesson. And often here we remind ourselves that we also, every situation, we surrender to it. We surrender to the process and we say, what is this person or situation teaching me about me? Not about them, but about me. And I feel for you, like you said, about self-love, forgiveness, acceptance, especially with your relationship with your dad that you shared about. But I think like you said something really important, and I feel like a lot of people will find resistant like you did at the start, was we choose our parent. And that's a very powerful statement. And I know it's come from that spiritual realm, and I think it wouldn't be the divine mess if we don't speak about a bit about spirituality as well in that sense. So can you share with us, like, in terms of your spiritual practices now, has it evolved, even like your relationship with, if you had one before, or has it evolved?
Yes, it definitely has evolved. You mean my relationship with my father and my family?
That as well, but especially your relationship with God or the divine or the universe, has it changed? Did you blame at one point in your journey, like when I felt like I can resonate in that part with your story a bit, is like when something happened, like we can blame our parents, yes, but and then in our culture, Indian culture, they say, like go and pray to God and it will get resolved. And then you're like, so why God is this happening to me? Did it happen over your journey that you healed your relationship with God as well? That's what I'm asking.
Yes, it has definitely healed my relationship with God. And yeah, when I was going through that difficult time, I was kind of, as you said, why is this happening to me? I was wondering, what did I do wrong? Why is God punishing me? And kind of fighting with God that what's your problem? Why God, what? Why are you doing this to me? But now it has definitely evolved. It has become on a more understanding and compassionate level, and like I get what happened probably needs to happen. That's why it happened, and there was something I needed to learn from it. And God was, even though I didn't understood it at that time, God was driving me towards my purpose, towards helping me grow and evolve. And it was probably the best way that I could have grown from my own experiences, by going through it uh, instead of getting bogged down into that trauma. I was The best way to learn was going through it and coming out of it evolved, so I can help other people who are having that same experience. And yes, my relationship with my dad has definitely gone to another level. I am there was a time when I wasn't receiving his phone calls, I wasn't calling him. And I was just mad and upset that I don't want to speak to him because he called me a failure. And now it has definitely gone to a different level, and I am, it has, I wouldn't say it's the best dad-daughter relationship because he still doesn't understand what I do and why I do it, and he probably never will. However, he has also come to terms, just like my sisters, he has come to terms with accepting that this is my path, this is my purpose. So he can either accept it as what I want to do, or he can try to fight with me and convince me to get a job, which I won't do. So he is better off accepting it, which he has.
That's a win, Karishma. That's a win. The moment you say like, like when he has to accept it, it's already a win for you in terms of you standing firm on your grounds and saying, this is what I'm going to do, no matter what you say. And thank you for accepting what I'm doing. And that's how we see it, like on our healing journey. We know like if we keep on explaining to him, to people who don't understand what we are doing, it's like a losing battle, I would say, unfortunately. So it's not about focusing that energy, like I tend to tell people like, let's focus on what we can do. And that's what you're doing. You're focusing your energy on empowering women, and with your family is like, whether you understand or not, I'm good with that. I'm not going to fight that battle anymore. I'm just going to accept you as who you are. And that's it. I feel that's a really beautiful message in itself with your client as well. And I feel that a lot of people, women, not only women, can resonate with that message that you're embodying. And now we'll leave
Thank
to
you.
Tina. Yeah.
I definitely
Thank
understand the
you.
bit where parents don't get what you do, or they'll look at something and go, oh, that's really nice. Or that book you wrote, it's written, it's constructed really well, but I can't comment on the subject matter. And you're like, okay, that's good. So
They,
we need to not look for them to be okay about it. We need
yes,
to accept them for where they're at in their own journey, because like you say, we chose them. And there needs to be a level of acceptance from our part as to who they are, and not be in that constant brain space of wishing they were somebody different, or that they behaved differently, or they did things differently. They do their life in their way because that's their level of knowledge and understanding as to how the world works. It just so happens that the people in this room see the world a little bit differently, and we behave a little bit differently, and we view relationships differently. So we have to be kind and compassionate to them and go, a bit like I do with my children, this is your journey. There is no way I can muck that up for you. These experiences that you are having are the experiences that you need to have to fulfill your own purpose. I can't rake myself over the coals for separating and divorcing their father, or for any of the ups and downs that we went through on that journey. They needed to experience it for themselves, as I needed to make sure that I was getting where I was going and where they needed to go. So I absolutely applaud you for going, I love you, Dad, and thank you for understanding. But, we have to agree to disagree, I think, is probably a good space to be in. But do you have one practical tip that our listeners could take to give themselves a little bit of self-love every day? If there was one thing that you could say to somebody who's starting their journey, midway through their journey, what would that be for them?
Yes, thank you for that. And since you have mentioned about my dad, maybe I will give a tip in relation to that only. So it's definitely it's under our parents usually unless they have some mental issues or something like that. Our parents mostly they want the best for us. However, they want what they think the best for us and not what we want the best, not what we think is best for us. Like they have their own based on their beliefs, based on their experiences. They want what they think is the best for us. For example, like I am sure Kirtideva will relate to it. Like in Indian culture, as soon as a boy or a girl is born, she is kind of instilled into that person that you have to become a doctor, you have to become a lawyer, and you have to do this, you have to get good grades, etc. It probably happens in Western culture too. But yeah, if the after the kid is born, if they don't want to be that particular profession, if they don't want to choose that particular profession, there is obviously conflict in the family sometimes. So yeah, it's understanding that our parents want the best for us, but they they want the best for us. What they think is best for us. However, what we think is best for us may be different from what they want. So it's about understanding and acceptance and forgiveness, and definitely like knowing that for example in my case, when my dad called me a failure, I was holding on to that anger and resentment. But when I worked on forgiveness, I realized that what he really wanted was my financial security. He was just worried about whether I will be safe and how I will survive, because I won't have money coming in since I won't have a job. So that was his primary concern underneath all that, what he said to me. And even though the words were not the best word to say to your daughter, but it was really underneath those words, it was really his concern for me. So obviously he if he didn't love me, he wouldn't have probably said those things to me, since he wouldn't have that concern for me. So it definitely the tip is understanding what even though our parents what they want for us is sometimes different from what we want. It's understanding that they do love us and forgiving them for their beliefs and their experiences, and acceptance that even though it's different, even though our path may be different, they still love us and they still have that understanding and love and compassion for us. And eventually they will come to terms with what we want in life, hopefully. Sooner or later they will come to terms with it and accept it.
Fabulous. Thank you so very much. We appreciate that. But yes, I understand. I'm still working on that relationship myself, and I'm nearly 50. So, it's an ongoing daily practice of acceptance. So thank you for the timely reminder. I don't think we ever walk away from an episode without a reminder of things that we could do better. So thank you so much for that. Did you have any last parting words, my dear friend?
No, it was a beautiful episode in terms of Karishma being very open about your story, and I feel like sharing this father-daughter relationship, how you has moved from like that blame making you feel like a failure, and move now to that self-love coach and being accepting towards him, and being really firm on your boundaries, saying like, yep, it doesn't matter if you don't understand, I'm still going to be the self-love coach. I'm not going for your 9 to 5 job where you will be the one feeling secure about it. But thank you so much for coming on the couch, and sharing your your expertise in terms of, and your journey, especially your journey like of self-love, forgiveness, and how tough you are on your clients. That's something I can learn from you. I can definitely take that. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. But also, it's a beautiful reminder to surrender to love, team. So I'm just saying.
I know, thanks, darling. I know it always comes up. And yes, you can keep giggling all to yourself because there isn't an episode on this whole journey that we have where surrender has not been a part of it. So on that note, we will say we love you and thank you so very much for joining us. And we look forward to having you on the couch with us next week. But until then, be kind to the person that's in the mirror, be loving, and be compassionate towards others. I think if that's the only thing you do this week, your life will be so much better. And thank you so much to the beautiful Karishma for joining us on the couch. And we look forward to seeing the work that she does in the future. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.